Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, welcome to the Beacon Roundtable. Here with the Beacon co-founders, got myself, Gabe, Andrew, Jingle, here on a fantastic Wednesday, the first Wednesday in October of Uptober, if you want to call it that. And if you can hear the tornado sirens behind me, the tests are live. Speaking of tests, one thing we wanted to just kind of talk about really quick is today is the National PSA Day. Around, I think, is it 2 p.m. Eastern or something like that? 2:20 Eastern time. We're going to get an alert on your phone. Contrary to things I'm seeing on the internet, your cell service will not lose itself. We will not be going to some strange anti-apocalypse. It's just a PSA alert that's going to test the National Wireless Emergency Alert System.
I didn't know this.
I mean, we'll see, Chris. Yeah.
We will see.
It might not. Might fail.
We might fail. We may go into a complete power grid failure, and we may go into
might be it. This might be the last Beacon Roundtable.
This might be that. You're right. This might be the last Beacon Round. So if it is, good run, guys. Good run.
Good a day as any to die, fellas. Good a day as any. Did y'all ever hear about that thing that happened in Hawaii where they had their nuclear warning test accidentally go out without the "this is a test" part? And so
it was 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, it was 2 or 3 years ago for a solid hour or something. It was everybody on the island thought that they were imminently going to die.
Yeah, I heard a guy who was there during that, and he said he just went out to sit on the beach, and he was fully just waiting to die, basically.
Yeah. I think
what happens when the North Koreans come for you. You just sit on the beach.
Or, you're whoever's in charge of that system just fat fingers it. I mean, it's got to be a delicate balance. You want to be. Why even warn people if it's just imminent demise? At that point, I guess you should warn them. It's hey, by the way, nuke's about to hit us.
I mean, if you're at the edge of the area, you could probably get away. If you're closer to center, there's not much you can do, really.
I don't know. But anyway, that's not happening, hopefully, knock on wood, to anybody today. Just to test this one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it does say it's going to continue for 30 minutes. But yes, again, it's going to be a test of the National Wireless Emergency Alert System. No action is needed. Please do not act on this.
They don't need your seed phrase, I don't believe. Do they need your private key, Chris?
I certainly hope not.
Is there an airdrop opportunity in this?
No, but there will be some.
Alert?
I'm sure there will be some shitcoins being released on ETH mainnet or on BNB
National
chain
Security
based off
Inu.
of this. Yeah, NSA Inu.
Yeah, that's definitely happening.
This is not a test, Inu.
Exactly. So don't. I mean, obviously, speculate on what you want to, but don't get mad at us if you get wrecked on NSA Inu.
Don't buy. What is NSA Inu?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Don't buy it.
Ay.
If you do, use my referral code. No, I'm just joking. I hate this industry. All right.
Oh, goodness. All right. So from one interesting thing to, I guess it's a nothing burger now. I mean, obviously it was an issue yesterday, but we'll just kind of brief because I put it in the title. So Orbiter Finance, the bridge, the L2 bridge used between multiple L2s, kind of went through. I don't even know what you would call this. Someone saying that, their tokens never made it, that they were compromised. So on Twitter, on X, Orbiter has addressed this. So yes, their Discord was compromised. So again, more of a PSA. If you are using Twitter, if you are using Discord, please use two-factor authentication. Too many people getting scammed on this kind of stuff. What they are chalking these issues up to is a lax in customer support response time. So essentially, some people were upset that they weren't hearing back on their tickets for up to a week. So
no shot their Discord got compromised, by the way. That's just an excuse because they were slow on replying to tickets.
Like I said, I don't know exactly, what obviously they must be a very small operation and there are a ton of people using the bridge and they never got into hiring more people. But they're calling the issues. And what's interesting about this is that multiple people are saying it's compromised, and then multiple people saying I just used the bridge, it was fine. So ultimately,
So
yeah.
can I ask why use these like long tail rando bridges when things like maybe, I don't know, official bridges or hop maybe, or like synapse, or like maybe layer 0,
Cheaper is the only
or
reason.
circles. Here's do you want to talk cheap? Circles cross chain transfer protocol for USDC. What about that?
Well, that's built into protocols, but
I mean, I haven't never used Orbiter Bridge before, and now I definitely won't.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I was just like, Well, so we have used it once. We used it, specifically on a test on trying to get funds from, I think, Optimism or Arbitrum to base, and our Orbiter was the cheapest. That's their specialty. They're an L2 bridge. Between it was between Synapse, Stargate, and I think it was it Seabridge, Andrew?
Was it cheaper than Hop as well?
Does Hop go to base?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, if it does now, it didn't before. I mean, this is the early days of base. So
yeah, I also use Coinbase very frequently to bridge USDC and ETH across like L2s and stuff.
Why don't we have a bridge aggregator yet?
We do, because bridges, like, it's with DEX aggregators. With DEX aggregators, you can make fewer trust assumptions and build a functional DEX, right? Like, you can have an immutable DEX. With a bridge, like, typically third-party bridges are always going to rely on some sort of relayer, and you can design those relayers in a lot of different ways, securely or insecurely, being the two ends of the spectrum on which you can design that relayer. And so for me, the devil is really in the details with bridges. Whereas with DEXs, like, you're more like, okay, I'm here to just get the best swap. Whereas bridges, you, like we see here, like, sometimes you can bridge and it's like, oh, where'd my funds go? And then you're dealing with like customer support from this random third party bridge that, you don't want to do that. You want to go with the majors, I think, for bridges.
Yeah, and there's a bunch that are out there. I mean, historically we've recommended Synapse, Seabridge, Stargate. Obviously Django likes Hop. There's also official bridges that you can generally take between protocols. And then, since, with regards to aggregators and cross-chain swaps that have come across, Jumper.exchange from Lie.fi, Bungee, Across, Thor Swap, Sushi Swap. These are all these aggregator type of protocols that try and find the best route for you to go between chains. And, ultimately, when you asked why are people using them, I think airdrops are probably the number one reason why people have been using them. Specifically, obviously, no airdrop criteria. Let me rephrase. Few airdrop criteria are clearly defined as criteria you have to do, but Orbiter has generally been one of the bridges that people use to go back and forth. So, ultimately, I think it's fine. I personally have only used Orbiter once. It's not my personal bridge of choice. If you have a bridge of choice that happens to be Orbiter and it hasn't been an issue for you, tell us in the chat. Tell us why you like it. Otherwise, with regards to engagement, feel free to tell us your favorite bridge of choice to go between the major L2 chains that you have.
I mean, if I'm moving anything of more than a few $1,000, I would pretty much always go Stargate.
Yeah.
Or
I think anything on layer 0 is fantastic, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had issues with Synapse or Stargate or Hop. Those are the ones that I typically check, but usually
Synapse is fairly low, like TVL volume. There's not that much funds in it, but they haven't had any security issues so far as I'm aware.
Yeah, and their relayer system, I mean, I don't think we have time to deep dive on it, and I would probably do it a disservice, but their relayer system is not like egregious. Like, it is a combination of different entities for like node operators and like how the funds are transferred, and it's a somewhat decentralized network. So I think there's a lower risk of like what happened to what was multi-chain happening to something like Synapse. Of course, it does rely on liquidity providers, so it's really liquidity providers to Synapse who are taking the majority of the risk, right? But as far as your funds getting totally lost in transmission, right? So that's kind of, if you're using a bridge, it's that period where your funds are being transmitted. You deposit into the bridge on one chain, you're expecting a withdrawal on another chain. That period of time, whatever that process is that confirms your deposit, waits for a certain amount of block confirmations, whatever, does some stuff with the relayer, spits it out on the other chain, like that whole sequence. And like, if you don't understand how that works with a bridge, probably avoid using that bridge, or try to get a decent understanding of how that works for that bridge if you're going to move significant funds. If not, you can always use an official bridge. You can always use a centralized exchange as a means to deposit on one chain and then withdraw on another chain. And then, yeah, if you're avoiding that, then should be good, as long as you're not on some chain that is like not that is actually relying on wrapped bridged assets to back the assets on that chain, like we saw with like Harmony, for example, or like Phantom, where on those chains the assets there, like the ETH, was backed by bridged ETH, and it wasn't like any sort of like optimistic roll up or ZK roll up where there was some tie back to the like on a roll up level back to the native chain. So or the Ethereum, basically. So yeah.
Well, speaking of that, if you thought that was great, we would love if you would please help us out on the algorithm here. I see numerous people here. Definitely need to get the likes up. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please feel free to do so. Get a notification on when we go live, which is every Wednesday at noon Eastern. So thanks for that. And hopefully you were not someone who was affected by whatever this was. The way I have it written down here in the agenda, if you piss off the right person, bad news travels 5 million times worse in DeFi and gets amplified super quickly on crypto Twitter. So essentially I don't know, I feel like it was a Karen attack.
Yeah, the wrong person got
someone got Karen'd.
Yeah, got their funds frozen. The person with enough Twitter followers to make a stink about it during that window. But hey, you never know when things are getting lost in transmission for a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that before, where there's an attack on a bridge that's the exploit isn't in the capital that's locked up on the source chain. The exploit isn't maybe in like the liquidity providers of a third-party bridge, but the exploit is in the funds that are being transmitted. So that does happen. And so if there's ever any worry, it's best to over panic and then avoid exposure to using that bridge during that time where an exploit could be occurring.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, it's been an interesting couple of days. I would definitely say that, specifically it's been one that's been very interesting in the United States. Like the majority of people probably watching this in the United States, but over the last 48 hours, we've had, for the first time ever, we had Congress, or rather the House of Representatives, actually passing a motion to vacate the Speaker of the House. Pardon me. And then we also had not XRP, the SEC get their motion to appeal denied by the courts, rejected.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, this happened. This happened yesterday, causing XRP to go up like 5-6% and then kind of retrace a little bit.
Oh, your last chance of exit liquidity, guys.
I know it happened. It was a 5-minute window.
Savor it.
But I guess they don't get to appeal again. I guess for another, I want to say sometime well into next year. So, this is headwinds, I suppose, for Ripple, for them to start scaling quickly throughout Asia and Africa. So I guess we'll see where this goes. But yeah, very interesting timeline, obviously, with regards to Congress now they have to, have a whole ceremony. Interestingly enough, the pro tempore House representative is Patrick
McHenry.
McHenry. Very
Oh,
big,
yeah.
very big crypto friend. Not that he'll become speaker, of course.
Giga
but,
Chad, Patrick McHenry. Some
super
call
Giga
it,
Chad. In
as he's
fact,
been known.
a couple of nominees for Speaker of the House are also Giga Chads. So we'll see where we go from here.
I don't follow politics much, but I do watch congressional hearings where Gensler's getting grilled, and Patrick McHenry is always leading the charge on giving Gensler the business. So he could have a lot of crazy ideas. I don't know if he's ever done anything despicable before, so I can't speak on the totality of his character. I always got to preface every time I talk about a politician doing something good, somebody will always be willing to clap back with some evil stuff they've done in the past. But as far as giving Gary Gensler the business, this guy is my number one fan. He's really up there. So to see him be the temporary Speaker of the House, that's pretty cool. Maybe that means he'll pump my bags, or maybe we'll get some clear regulatory framework. I don't know. Andrew, what do you think?
About Patrick McHenry or what?
I mean, does the temporary Speaker of the House, does this mean that his ideas are now more influential?
Probably not. My understanding is that it is interesting because this is a scenario that hasn't really happened before.
It's never happened.
But Speaker McCarthy actually provided the list of people. So this is people on his leadership team. So that if something had happened to him, or if there'd been a continuity issue, this is the list you go down. So it's kind of like one of his number two guys just gets handed the gavel when he's removed, and is now mainly just responsible for presiding over the next vote to actually have a speaker. So I mean, in the short term, sure, I guess he does have some modicum of power. But unless things really go off the rails, and who knows, they probably won't be doing any crypto legislation before getting an actual speaker.
No, his role is to bring in the next speaker as the pro tempore. But he is the head of the blockchain caucus. So if anybody is looking to do a little bit of research into those who are elected to the House that are part of this blockchain caucus, feel free to look him up, along with some of the others, such as Warren Davidson from Ohio, Tom Emmer, a couple of these others who are big advocates of blockchain technology. I guess the question for this, with these two things, Gabe, is do you think there will be some effects on this, on a network effect on markets, on global economy from something like this?
Well, we haven't really seen much happening in markets except for long-dated treasury bonds, yields on those kind of skyrocketing. But that's been happening for the last couple of weeks. I'm more interested in, I think they put a delay on the government shutdown, but they haven't actually resolved the underlying issue. And I think they pushed it forward by 30 days or something. Andrew? 45 days, yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to have more of an impact if that comes to pass, and likewise, if they manage to resolve the issues, that could also have an impact.
Yeah, I agree. So obviously there is a lot of movement on that, but not as much movement as there was on Monday morning. So we always talk about quote unquote UPtober. Historically, this has been a good time. We don't, but it's just been talked about. Historically, it's been a good time. This quarter is a good quarter generally for crypto. Interestingly enough, there is an interesting pump that happened on Sunday evening that a lot of people are still trying to figure out why, because there really wasn't a whole lot going on. No, that was okay. Thank you, Jangle.
Weekly DCA.
That was my weekly DCA.
The weekly DCA that liquidated $70 million.
What? You guys never seen size before? Come on, what is this, amateur hour?
What is this, amateur hour? So, I mean, to me, I think this could have been a little bit of a squeeze. I mean, some people started buying, people got liquidated, caused people to cover, whatever. Either way, it's retraced a bit, but there's been a huge, uptrend. A couple of things that we could kind of look at for, besides it being a good, there's a rally for the ETF market that it could be happening. We had ETH futures come live Monday morning as well. They haven't done a whole lot of volume though. 2 million.
Yeah, like none.
None is basically the best thing to really say about it, but they're there. Futures are there. I think Grayscale has put in an application to convert their ETF trust. So could this mean, in the next couple of weeks, we see some bigger movement from ETF futures? I really hope so.
Dude, the past 6 months have been absolute chop.
Yeah,
absolute chop. You know who's winning? V3 market makers. That's who's winning.
Isn't it? Aren't they though?
That's who's winning.
As a proud V3 market maker.
Yeah.
For now. Sorry, a concentrated liquidity market maker.
Oh, yeah.
A clamor, if you will, if you want to call us that.
Oh, no. Let's not call it that.
Let's not.
Let's not.
Concentrated liquidity AMM, I guess, for anybody at home who isn't a total weirdo. Yeah, that's what that stands for. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know what to say. Accumulation year. That's what you expect, I guess, huh?
I mean, when we look at our friend here at Crypto Bubbles, in terms of this being the first week of UPtober, before we start our trend into downtember, as Andrew has called it, we're seeing an interesting movement of green amongst a bunch of these altcoins. Is there a narrative to see here? I don't think so, but that doesn't mean.
I mean, Bitcoin dominance is still near cycle highs.
Yeah.
So
it's been hovering around 50% for a while now.
It's above 50% still.
Yeah, and I saw on CT that a chart where they've had 12 consecutive green candles for Dixie. So
Dixie's been pumping for months.
Yeah.
That's the real news. The TradFi, the fiat, and the bond market. That's the kicker this week. But I guess it's retraced. The long dated bonds have retraced a little bit today. So
I mean, we're trending upward here. So
yeah, the 10-year I think is getting close to touching the 5%.
Gabe, what do you think about locking your U.S. tokens for 10 years for a 5% nominal yield?
I mean, I can still get more than 5% on the 1 month, so I'd rather do that.
Yeah, but what if rates come down?
Well, they're not at the moment, and I don't see them. I don't see them changing that much in a month.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
All right. So I wanted to kind of delve into this topic for a minute. So I was, looking around on, doing some research, and I came across someone we've talked about on this call several times, and that would be Edgy from the DeFi Edge, talking about that it was his 3-year DeFi anniversary. And, as all of us being around for just about that long, if not a little bit longer, just reflecting on 31 things that in particular have been kind of chunks of wisdom, something that I think would be good to kind of go over some of these, because they all boil down to 3 things. Ultimately the ones that at least caught, some of our attention is protect your attention at all costs. Again, the reason for that, there's just so much noise out there. This is why we always tell our members to always have a plan.
Yeah, I think it's really important to keep your focus on what matters, drown out the noise, and zoom in on the 30-second shitcoin charts that you're leverage trading on chain.
I like number 5 here. I think that's an important point to remember.
Which is be careful over optimizing yields.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a free. Yeah, and we say this a lot, right? There's no such thing as a free lunch. The funny thing is that this also relates to something that we speak about a lot, which is if you don't know where the yield is coming from, guess where the yield is coming from? You. So obviously be careful over optimizing yield. There's a lot of great opportunities to stretch yield, but you always have to worry about risk mitigation because you're stacking smart contract risk and counterparty risk. Sometimes the simplest route is the best. Sometimes people will bring up protocols and stuff on other calls that we have, and I'm just like, yeah, you could do that, but why not just do this? Stacking all this risk just to get another extra 2, maybe a half a percentage point over something that's completely volatile that will never, make that much of a difference in the long run. Be skeptical of every piece of advice you see. It says on crypto Twitter, but this could be anywhere. We fully subscribe to the idea
Except for us.
Except for us, obviously.
Except for us, obviously. Yeah, that's right.
Don't trust, verify. And again, this is something we push all the time. And this is the thing. We always push about self-custody, mitigating your risk, taking control, being your own bank. Again, don't trust, verify. This is your hard-earned money, right? No reason for you to, look at somebody who has an interesting profile picture telling you to, do whatever they do.
What if it's a llama? What if they got a llama PFP?
If they have that, or if they have a Pepe PFP, that might have some weight, some clout that's there. But in general, don't trust, verify.
What if they've got an ape PFP? Do you try to fish them?
Man,
I'm getting targeted crypto scams. I don't know about you guys.
All the time.
I've definitely seen that.
Yeah,
dude.
And you're not even on social media, Gabe. You get targeted all the time.
Through what medium? They texting you? They emailing you? I mean, I guess I got phishing
emails, calls. Yeah.
Dude, you guys got to stop giving out your email addresses.
There's fish on his doorstep. Whatever they do out there.
It's just got fake, tapped ledgers hiding inside those fillets.
Ooh.
Just on the topic of llamas, Jungle, I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about Curve after everything that happened? Last month. Do you still think it's a core pillar of on-chain finance, and that it's going to continue to exist for the foreseeable future, say 5 years?
Yeah, I think the biggest blow that the Curve situation had wasn't necessarily just to Curve, but it was kind of like to all of DeFi, to like all of the trust in DeFi. When you have something like a language compiler having a vulnerability that's exploited, that ends up affecting one of the largest DeFi protocols in the industry, that's that's kind of brutal. As far as Curve, the DEX landscape is always rapidly evolving. Curve has definitely lost TVL since that incident. I think it's really struggled to be competitive on a wide variety of chains in the same way that like Uniswap has, because Curve takes a fee, whereas Uniswap passes all their fees to liquidity providers. So that's been difficult. I would say the shining light of Curve is, well, two things now. One, the stablecoin has been growing and is at over 120 million in market cap now, and offers a way to get leverage on interest-bearing ETH with soft liquidation mechanisms. And the soft liquidation mechanisms are route through the exchange, so it generates more exchange volume as well. But that stablecoin also generates revenue for the protocol. And then there are, there's this concept called nerd sniping, where basically it's a concept where nerds get really obsessed about a problem and then try to solve it, and it ends up just attracting them sort of indefinitely. And I think the Curve ecosystem has really mastered the art of nerd sniping, where a lot of people who are engaged with the Curve ecosystem and building on top of Curve and Convex are like ultra passionate and knowledgeable about the space. And so there continues to be like this community of hyper engaged DeFi gangsters. And that kind of gives me hope about the long-term prospects of Curve, because there's just a massive amount of like development mind share and like human capital that's kind of allocated to it. So I'd say like the stable coins and the overall the stablecoin itself and the overall ecosystem make me a proud bag holder at this point. So But of course, I mean, I'm not like 100% CRV or anything, but I'm just not selling. Yeah, it'll survive. And in my opinion, everything that survives will eventually pump when the next liquidity event occurs, right? And so, will I probably lighten my bags during that? It's possible, unless the stablecoin continues to significantly grow. But I don't think it's like going anywhere during this winter. I think it'll survive whatever winter we have.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because another thing he has on here is, never put anybody on a pedestal. And, I think we've kind of seen that. I think hearing, obviously people are like, oh, Curve. And then you find out about, Michael Egoroff and the fact that he bought, his Australian mansion with like $240 million worth of Curve tokens, and that he owned more than 50% of the supply, and half of it was, being borrowed against. So, obviously huge vectors that he's now since mitigated. But at the same time, it's like, wow, this is crazy. Curve is so well loved. And then you hear this, you're like, well, this is kind of crazy. And, we've seen this with multiple people in this space. Obviously, Daniel Sestigali in the Frog Nation. You have Andre Cronje. You have other people.
I don't think there's as much of a cult following around Egoroff.
You don't think so?
I do think that in the Curve community, he is very well respected and memed about, but I wouldn't put him on the level of Danny. Like, there was just a massive amount of people who were just obsessed with Danny, and Danny was like really on Twitter very often, like clapping at people, and like it was going very viral. Whereas like Egorov is active in like the Curve ecosystem Telegram, where he's like talking about a lot of things and like features and like going over like, I don't know, ideas for the protocol with other people. But on the most extreme end of the spectrum, you would like have Doquan, who's like, your size is not size, like have fun staying poor. And then on like the totally underground side of the spectrum, you'd have like Satoshi, right, who like literally is anon and doesn't exist anymore. And I would say that Egorov is everybody's on the spectrum, especially in crypto. But he's he's not. Yeah, he's a little bit of he's got a little bit of a cult following. Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, I mean, I think bringing up the Doquan narrative is probably pretty true. But I will say he's not on the, on the clapping level of someone like Danny, who'd really just tried to pull in as many, retail traders as possible to create this narrative of them against us type of deal, right? So just a couple other ones I'll just go through quickly. Record everything. We're a big fan of journaling. There are tons of patterns in this space, and oftentimes it's cyclical. Don't overrate fundamentals in a bull market. This is something that Jangle talks about all the damn time.
Great point.
And
can we double click on that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like the fundamentals, when you try, first of all, it's difficult to build frameworks for fundamental analysis of crypto assets. Like they're very sometimes they're straightforward. Most of the time they're not very straightforward. And so when you try to develop these fundamental frameworks for analysis, like sometimes you'll land on one, and in a bull market the fundamentals are insane, right? Like their user growth is very fast. Their revenue per user can get pretty high. The total amount of revenue that a project can be taking in can be insane. Their fundamentals can be pumping, right? And then that's reflexive to the downside as well. During a bear market, you can have fundamentals that are kind of in the tank because of just the nature of the industry. Like there's just much less activity happening on chain. And so when the bull market is here, like don't just look at the fundamentals like as a snapshot in time. Look at projects like apply the same analysis framework to bull and bear market metrics, right? And get a bull and bear market sort of analysis of that protocol and say, okay, during its bull market activity in this framework, this is how much revenue it had, how much it's worth. And during a bear market, this is how much it's worth, because Yeah, if you just look at the bull market metrics, everything's going to be insane and it's going to be a great buy at a high price. But those fundamentals will quickly evaporate when the interest dies, and the protocol might literally just disappear. It might die. So,
yeah. And another thing to consider is that, narrowing your focus is an underrated edge. I mean, know which number that is. I really should have just taken the numbers here. For example, Gigi, she doesn't do airdrop farming. We call her the Arbitrum Queen, and she narrows her focus to specific L2s and protocol types. For example, Django only likes ETH. He wishes nothing but death to things like Solana and Cosmos, because there is only one.
I respect the builders, but as money, Adam and Sol are dog water.
That's good.
I respect it. Like it's a fair line to draw. Just say, hey, like your virtual machines are cool. Your token sucks. Your token really sucks. Like, no way I'd buy that.
That's a great meme. I should have focused on you for that. You're like, your technology is great. Your token sucks.
Yeah.
And then there's the opposite sometimes, right? Where the token is great, but the virtual machine and the blockchain itself sucks, right? Like with ADA.
Yeah. What? Oh, with ADA.
It's a great token.
It's
a great token.
I mean, it is a great.
Terrible.
They've got a great like staking pool mechanism that is really conducive for YouTubers starting their own ADA staking pools.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure, like, in the docs of the staking pools, they're like, if you want to attract people to join your staking pool, then you should start a YouTube channel. Like, I don't know. Double check that. But I think I saw that one.
Trust but verify.
Double check that one.
Can we get a link to the DeFi Edge in chat?
Yeah, it's in the. It'll be in the show notes as well. But let me grab that. Let me grab that link. Oh my goodness, what do I do with my?
Does anyone else like find it funny that like Twitter X has become like a place to go for long form text threads? Like why do you have to have 34 or 36 things you learned in 3 years, Edgy? Like, why couldn't it have been like the top 5? Like, give me the bite-sized bits. But now, like, the threaders have spun the Twitter ethos on its head. They're just trying to make that stuff as long as possible.
That's how they make the money, bro.
How long are TikToks allowed to be? Does anybody know?
Depends. It's normally 3 minutes, but if you are of a specific tier of creator, you can get up to 10 minutes now, I believe.
That's pretty crazy. I think Twitter's just TikTok for the written word. So,
well, they're testing video streaming. So, well, I guess we'll see what happens for X Bluers.
Yeah, X videos coming soon.
So we'll go ahead and go to man. What I wanted to say was, after all this, our logo, if y'all don't know Beacon's logo, it's a lighthouse, because the waters, after reviewing all of this, the waters have been choppy, especially the last 2 years. They've been rough as hell, right? But we're here, we're thriving. Our goal here is to help educate you. So when in doubt, look for the lighthouse, because water's rough out there, folks. But what I wanted to kind of throw this all together is that what a lot of what DeFi Edge has said here, it leads to 3 things that we preach about repeatedly in all of our content. It's have a plan, be focused on your plan, and don't marry your bags. Obviously, there are some bags, depending on what they are long-term bags. But for anything that could be something you're looking into, don't marry them, because there are things that could happen that could change everything in a heartbeat. So be agile enough to not be locked into it. Like, for example, locking 4 years worth of cheat out. So,
hey, I mean, an asymmetric bet.
Watch Chi 5x in like 2 years. Wouldn't that?
It'll probably survive. Probably
everything
still around now will probably.
Chi can 5x, and I'll still be down. That was just a rookie move years ago. That keeps being brought up. Yeah, he can 5x it. I'm still like down bad.
Still down 98%.
Pretty much.
Like I said, we'll
Isn't
see what
there
happens.
isn't there stablecoin pegged to like 80 cents or something as well?
We're really that low on content.
I don't know.
89.
No,
man.
we're
It's
not
super
that low on content. We haven't even touched on SBF. We got to get to the
I know
headliner.
we're getting to the headliner.
No, we're burying it.
But I wanted
Y'all need to
deeper.
pile on to my old favorite project of 2 years ago. That's dying. That's down bad.
It's a good idea.
But if you are looking for a
pioneer.
stablecoin that's pegged at 89 cents, not bad. It's
They got you covered.
They got you covered.
It's right there.
On 7 different
Perfect.
blockchains. They got you covered.
Perfect.
Oh no.
That's
All
what I
right.
need.
We'll move on. We'll move on to you know what? So if you're not familiar with this gentleman,
Oh, jeez.
Sam Bankman-Fried is currently on trial. The opening arguments are today, actually, which means they'll actually.
So are they streaming it? It says live right there.
That's a live
but-
blog. This is a live blog from Wired.
I want a camera inside the courtroom. I want
I don't think you're gonna. I don't think you're gonna get that, but you may get a courtroom artist. I would like to see a courtroom artist. It's just mostly just hair and then just like big eyes,
And
big
just
eyes,
tears.
and tears.
There's no way they're gonna stream that live. The kind of friends SBF had, the risk of something bad being said is just no. There's no way.
That's kind of true. That's a good point.
Yeah. So one interesting thing, if you don't want to follow this live blog, Coindesk actually is having a daily newsletter of the SBF trial sent out to you in your email. And of course, if you can go to Coindesk if you want to get that. But for me, the part that's interesting is that there is Michael Lewis, who, if you're familiar with The Big Short, which he's the author of, he actually has been following SBF around for quite a bit and has written a book called Going Infinite, The Rise and Fall of a New Tycoon.
I hate that. I hate that name. I assume that you all at least saw some of the clips from the 60 Minutes. What's the deal here? Is Michael Lewis, is he an idiot, or is he just got to save face at this point because he wants his book to do well? Like, what's going on? Why is Michael Lewis like such a Sam Bankman-Fried apologist here?
I think he's just trying to report the experience that he had, sir. I cannot specifically report that he is or is not an apologist, but there are.
No, I mean, listen to this. Listen to this quote.
Sure,
this is nuts. This is nuts. Okay, here's the quote. This isn't a Ponzi scheme, Lewis said. Like, when you think of a Ponzi scheme, I don't know, Bernie Madoff, the problem is there's no real business there. The dollar coming in is being used to pay the dollar going out. And in this case, they actually had a great real business. If no one had ever cast aspersions about the business, there hadn't been a run on customer deposits, they'd still be sitting there making tons of money. Lewis, they lost over $10 billion of customer funds. They're not a fractional reserve system. They're supposed to be fully collateralized. They're not supposed to take their customer deposits and then go spend them on stadiums and political donations. They lost billions of dollars. So no, they obviously were not that successful. Billions of dollars that were not theirs. That's not what a profitable business is. That is a giant fraud. Like, what does anybody, I mean, anybody? Chris,
I just want you to keep fudding me.
They're still in discovery. Maybe somehow they didn't lose all this money and it's just sitting in an account somewhere and they're gonna find it. But yeah, it doesn't sound great.
If they had not lost literally billions of dollars during, by the way, like the biggest bull market ever, right? Like everything was ripping and they lost $10+ billion around thereabouts, right? That's not a profitable business. That is lunacy.
I believe what SBF said was it was an interesting historical accounting quirk when he referred to the loans that Alameda had been taking against FTX deposits.
And then, and then on top of that, it's like, not only did they know that they were taking customer funds and blowing them while, I mean, sure, maybe FTX is a good exchange, I guess, but profitable business, not when you factor in, Alameda into the equation, maybe for like a brief moment in time. But then not only that, but they have the audacity to say that they were trying to find $5 billion to give to Trump.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
There's a couple of things here, right? So there are some wild details of SBF that Michael Lewis revealed in the book, right? The first being that SBF wanted to pay Donald Trump $5 billion to not run again in this election cycle. And probably that would have come from the Korean whale friend that they're still trying to find, with the money. But that was interesting.
So, oh my God, I don't even know where to circle back on this. So, okay. If no one had cast aspersions on their business, if there hadn't been a run on customer deposits, they'd still be sitting there making tons of money. Can we, does anybody have any comments on that before we go to the Trump thing? Can we put a bow in that one?
Go ahead, Andrew.
So I think the way that he's presenting this, it does really sound like weirdly apologist, yes. But I do think there is like a grain of truth in what he's saying, in that, to the best of my knowledge, Bernie Madoff never invested in anything. Like, he was like, yeah, give me your money. Oh, I'm going to show you this report of how the money's going up in value. It's really just sitting somewhere in a stack of cash. And then if you want your money back, we're going to try to convince you not to, because it's making so much money. But if I have to pay you, it's going to be from someone else's funds. There was not even like a shell corporation that was pretending to do something. There was no other revenue stream.
There was another company. There was
Really?
There was a market making company, and then there was like a wealth management. And the market making firm was profitable, and they were mostly separate. But yes, you are correct though. You are correct. But he did also have a market making business. I'm not sure. I don't know. I wasn't really.
Okay, I didn't know that, so
Yeah.
It does kind of ruin what I think the point is. But it sounds like Michael Lewis might not know that either. So I think the point that he's trying to make is that FTX had an actual business. They were making money, and the problem is that they lost billions of dollars.
Yeah.
It wasn't that they didn't have a business. So it's not a pure Ponzi. It's not a pure Ponzi. And I'm not sure if the Ponzi term is accurate.
No, it's probably not.
But it might be accurate if there were times where they were paying back some customers with other customers' funds.
Which was most likely the case.
Yeah, that most likely did happen. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think I can't see inside the mind of Sam Bankman-Fried. And I haven't seen all the proof to be able to say yes, he consciously stole $10 billion, or no, he was just incredibly incompetent, and so incompetent that it's criminal. I don't know the exact details here. But at the very least, there's got to be criminal negligence. You can't be CEO of a company and lose billions of dollars.
No, it's true.
And I mean, this really just highlights why in the United States we have laws mandating that custodians and exchanges be separate entities, right? You can't, unless you're in crypto, because we don't have a regulatory framework, right? Coinbase is a custodian and an exchange, and that's kind of bad. But at least Coinbase has third-party audits from a Big Four accounting firm every quarter, and they don't, according to Deloitte, they do not touch the customer deposit. If you deposit Bitcoin on Coinbase, they aren't going out and buying Pepe with it, trying to make a return and give you back your Bitcoin later, right? Or if other people are all requesting their Bitcoin. They got to move stuff around. That's not happening. You're right. According to Coinbase's third-party audits, which is like the standard, right? But I would rather not depend on whatever leadership team Coinbase happens to have. I trust Brian Armstrong, and it's verified through third-party audits. But at what point will there maybe one day be a leadership team of Coinbase that is not trustworthy or is not competent? And then that means that there's a situation where there is a conflict of interest because exchanges have the interest of growing their volume, right? And custodians have the interest of not losing the funds. And those can sometimes be in conflict because, more risk-taking behavior can lead to faster growth like we saw with FTX. Then you throw a whole nother wrench in it, which is you have this trading firm, this whole proprietary trading firm that is operating on the exchange. It gets an unlimited margin account with the exchange with and able to use customer deposits for that and trade these long tail assets and just lose all the money. Like, yeah, you can call that a great real business. You can call that a great real business. But if you really believe that's a great real business, then you're a fucking moron. So sorry for my language. If I'm going to drop an F-bomb, it's right there. You're an absolute idiot, right? You're an idiot if you think that's a great real business, or you're a criminal. One of the two. You have to be one of those two. You have to be either absolutely incompetent or a criminal. So which one is it, Michael Lewis? Are you incompetent or are you just making excuses for this absolutely criminal behavior? It's got to be one of the two.
Well, some other
there's your content. There you go. You wanted content. Got me riled up.
All right,
so now move on to the Trump thing. Let's go to the Trump thing.
All right, fine. Let's talk about the Trump thing. I thought we had covered that, but essentially
that losing billions of dollars. They're already billions in the hole. Now they want to do a $5 billion political bribe. For why? For the good of the world. For the good of the world. That's what they would say, right? Okay. I'll let somebody else take the floor.
Allegedly. Trump has declined that this ever happened. I don't know if they have any real evidence or if it's just hearsay. But yeah, it's interesting.
Has anyone ever Googled, is effective altruism a cult?
I don't want to cast okay, Sam Bankman-Fried doesn't represent effective altruism. Sam Bankman-Fried does not represent crypto. He's just a fraud. Like,
can we define what effective altruism is for anyone who's never heard the term correctly defined?
I'll Google it.
to answer Andrew's question.
Why am I big? I shouldn't be big right now. I'm Googling something.
I thought you were gonna drop
effective altruism is a philosophical and social movement that advocates using evidence and reason to figure out how to benefit others as much as possible and taking action on that basis. So it's the idea that if you're going to give money, don't give money to I don't know, some charity that's not very effective. I don't want to put any charities on blast, but instead give money to like buying malaria nets or something, like the most effective, like lives saved per dollar, right? The most good you can do per unit of resource. That's effective altruism, right? So, which is not what Sam Bankman-Fried did. Everything Sam Bankman-Fried touched was obliterated, right? Like most of the political campaigns he donated to lost, right? Like everybody who used his exchange, not everybody, but everybody who was using his exchange at the time where all the House of Cards collapsed, like lost tons of money. The scientific research he donated to was like, I don't know, a bunch of different stuff. I'm not sure. Maybe some of that panned out.
There's also like some interesting overlap with long-termism. From what I can see, I'm no EA expert, but to me it seems like a weird ends justify the means cult. And combined with like the idea of long-termism, hey man, what does it matter if $5 billion of customer funds are lost if we prevent the extinction of humanity 10,000 years from now, right?
Yeah.
And it also just makes me kind of like, maybe I'm getting my tinfoil hat ready, but I'm wondering if like some of these SBF apologists, they're in the cult too. Like, it feels kind of like, you come after the Church of Scientology, you're going to find out that there's like 1,000 actors that are also a Scientologist.
But who's coming after effective altruism? Like, I don't think effective altruism should be catching any shade for what Sam Bankman-Fried has done. I think that
he is like the most famous effective altruist of all time, right?
But you could also say he's like the most famous crypto enthusiast of all time, but he's not really a crypto enthusiast. He's just a criminal who used crypto as a means to defraud massive amounts of people. And I think that there might be an argument to be made. He's not really an effective altruist. He's just a person who used effective altruism as a means to launder his reputation to gain credibility and notoriety.
That's a take.
Yeah, I hear you.
I mean, maybe, I think at some point, perhaps he really believed in the idea of effective altruism, but in the days and weeks and months and quarters, really, maybe, probably not years. I mean, they weren't around really for years, but in the months and quarters leading up to the collapse of FTX, he was not acting very altruistically at all. He was acting very criminally. He was hiding the fact that his exchange was insolvent. He was actively using customer funds that he knew were not his to do insane things like perhaps bribe Donald Trump $5 billion to not run and buy stadiums and donate to political campaigns. And that was not the only multi-billion-dollar outlay that was on the agenda, right? Like, they were not shy about, hey, we are just going to defraud everybody, all of our depositors of their money, right? That was so. Maybe he really thought the ends justified the means and he's just really dumb, but probably he's not dumb. He's just a huge crook. And he knew that if he toted this idea of effective altruism, then people would be more likely to trust him and he could get more notoriety. He could get more credibility. He could get more face time with people like Tom Brady and politicians, and he could get who's the politician that blew him a kiss that was then singing Gary Gensler's praise just last week on the SEC congressional hearing, getting blown kisses from politicians, making TikToks with Tom Brady in the name of effective altruism because he cared about malaria nets in Africa? No, because he wanted to defraud people of billions of dollars, and that was how he was going to reputation launder. Like, that's my thesis. I think that makes the most sense to me. Perhaps he's an ends justifies the means, and he just really fumbled the bag. But I think it's more likely he's criminal than incompetent.
And to think that he could have just, if he would have just been a little bit better at League of Legends, and he could have just been a pro League of Legends player instead of go down this road.
Well, apparently he was playing, I don't know if he was playing top lane or mid lane during his first live TV interview, but apparently he was, I don't know if he mains, who he mains, but, essentially he was actually playing League of Legends during his first live TV interview. I thought that was funny, and, SBF may go mad without internet access. So essentially, in the event that he needed, would he rather be at house arrest with no internet or in jail with internet? He would choose jail.
We might have to have new definitions of cruel and unusual punishment for Zoomers. This generation, they have new needs.
They do.
Okay, why is he so poorly dressed? Like, all the time. It's got to be a meme. It's got to be a meme. Like, why?
He wanted to wear cargo shorts to his congressional hearing, by the way.
Dude, like, honestly, cargo shorts, maybe. Tuck your shirt in if you're going to wear a suit. And what are those shoes, dude? Just get some, like, hire somebody to dress you.
Oh, goodness.
You got billions of dollars of customer deposits, That's why you could pay somebody $100 million an hour to just dress
Probably
you.
not anymore, right?
Yeah, probably.
At one point he did. At one point he had access to unlimited amounts of other people's money.
Apparently he was worth 30 billion when he was 26.
Well, that's because the value of FTX is being bid up. And do y'all remember that Sequoia article about the whole effective altruism thing and why Sam Bankman-Fried? Like, I think that really the crypto in 2021 was probably the most effective means to make lots of money really fast, as fast as possible. And then in order to give it a positive spin for, VCs and investors, they put, or they have this quirky effective altruist. Like I think it's manufactured. I really lean on the effective altruist angle being manufactured. I don't know for sure. And I don't know if it was like that the whole time. I don't know if he came out the gate with malicious intentions, but certainly on the tail end, everything that was good and noble about what he was thinking he was doing had to have been out the window, or he's just not there psychologically, not there.
What if he's a Fed plant?
Possible, but like, I mean, his parents, I saw somebody in the comments, like, what about his parents? His parents are like, aren't they, is it Stanford professors? And one of them
His
is a business ethics professor at Stanford and was like in on this.
It's all pretty funny.
Thing. Business ethics. And there's like emails that came out where it's like, come on, Sam, 200K, like talking about his salary. And like, he was like,
he's like, give me $1 million.
Give me $1 million. And he's in the books, like having meetings with the accounting. Like he knows they are commingling funds between custodial and exchange funds. He knows that they have a prop trading desk that has unlimited access to margin through customer funds to back that margin and is losing tons of money all the time. And he's asking how to protect property from bankruptcy procedures. He's asking their legal team, okay, we need this property for the company, but it needs to be in this name. And how can we protect it from bankruptcy procedures? These are all emails. You can look up all these emails.
Yeah.
So like, he's a Stanford business ethics professor. And have they even put him on leave yet? They haven't fired him. Did they put him on leave yet? I remember for a while they hadn't put him on leave. Y'all have to double check me. I don't know. I try not to keep up with this too much, but at one point he was not even on leave. He might be on leave now. I don't believe he's fired. He is still technically a business ethics professor at Stanford, which is supposed to be a credible university. I mean, what the hell is going on? Am I the only one around here?
Well, I mean, this is
who cares about the rules?
We're in a glitch in the simulation, Jangle. Clearly, we're in a glitch. So here's the thing: if Suju can get caught and only jailed for 4 months for something just as, in my opinion, just as egregious.
I don't know about just as egregious, but it's bad. But it's not
bad.
It's bad. It's bad. But yeah.
Using customer funds to anyway, I mean, we can certainly mince words and do all that, but essentially if he did, so let's put it this way: if SBF does not get a longer sentence than Ross Ulbricht, the guy who's in prison for 2 life terms for architecting Silk Road.
Yeah, I didn't. Okay, I see Ross Ulbricht's tweets. I believe I follow him. I really like his tweets are pretty cool, honestly. Sad, interesting, all that. So I do have a lot of empathy for Ross Ulbricht, and I don't know how that all went down, but didn't he like allegedly try to have some people assassinated?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not here to say, okay, how many assassination, hit orders are worth how many years versus how many billions of defrauding investor money are worth how many years. I'm just going to say they're both, stealing $10 billion is bad. And probably trying to have people assassinated who could possibly snitch on you is also bad. So I'm not here to measure how much bad each one of those is.
Neither am I. But I think it's interesting that, obviously Suju's been on the run for quite some time. I just was reading that there's an investor class lawsuit that was against Do Kwon that got dismissed yesterday as well. And, to address Dan's comment, yes, way less bad. But I guess it's all a matter of how you feel bad is defined, right? It's not good, that's for sure. But
yeah, and I mean, really, he
Hot take, boys. It's not good.
I think
I know it's terrible.
Suzu was just wrong. Like he just lost, in the markets. And then when it was all going down, I believe he did try to raise some money from investors without like fully disclosing the whole situation that he was in. So like he probably did commit some crime. But if Suzu committed crime, it was like mostly when everything was falling apart really bad. And when Sam Bankman-Fried committed crime, it was like for a long time. And
I mean, the difference between like taking on venture capital investments and losing that money compared to actually stealing and using deposits from average everyday people, they're not expecting to take that risk. Whereas people who go into venture capital, they know that they can lose that money, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is illegal to raise money without disclosing that you're insolvent or owe a bunch of people money that you've lost, or like you do have to like disclose everything.
Yeah, but if it worked, it probably never would have even been a thing.
Yeah, it's probably happened tons of times in the industry. It might have happened to Suzu before. So Suzu probably, if he did what is alleged, I'm not saying that he is anywhere near as bad as SBF, but he probably committed some crime. Based on, I'm not a lawyer, but based on my very limited understanding of the law. But yeah, it's a whole nother Cheeto Boy's a whole nother level, a whole nother ball game. Not even the same league, not even the same sport. Whole nother ball game.
Fair enough. I've had this thought in my head. If Caroline Ellison never calls out CZ, or not calls out CZ, but offers that offer to CZ to purchase whatever it was.
The FTT. Yeah.
Does all this happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. They were losing tons of money. I mean, bear market. They're going to die.
Yeah. I mean, I think it probably would have gone down differently. But, that led to everyone calling each other to the carpet, and then that led to really bad things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they were just losing all their customers' money. Like, eventually it was going to happen. And like Michael Lewis says, this is not a bank run. I don't know where Michael Lewis is getting the idea that this is a bank run. Like, oh, it's just a little liquidity mishap, whoopsie, how could happen to the best of us. Hey, if I tweeted that you were insolvent right now, you'd be in the same situation. Like, no, wrong. Like, not true at all. You're supposedly, according to Coinbase, right? Coinbase takes all customer deposits. They hold them back one for one. They're not taking Bitcoin, swapping it to ETH, taking ETH, swapping it to SHIB, right? Trying to make returns. They don't have this trading firm that is tapping into Coinbase users' deposits in order to get leverage to long tail, on-chain, random Solana tokens, right? Because that's bad. That's wrong. That's crime, right? That's crime. Ooh, it's crime. Insert that meme there. But yeah. So like, dude, and what I hate is that literally on 60 Minutes, like the thing everybody's going to watch is just this Michael Lewis guy who has written some books. For some reason, people care about what he says. He's the guy on 60 Minutes when it should be somebody who actually knows what the hell they're talking about on 60 Minutes, talking to all the normies saying, put this guy under the jail. He needs to be under the jail. He is totally a fraud. He is not just some nerd who didn't manage his liquidity well. Like, it's outright fraud. Anyway, I'm sure we're going to be talking about this for weeks because
I'm going to try
trials going on. Yeah, we'll try today. Today we've kind of gone ham on it, and so we're gonna try not to talk about it as much. But yeah,
we'll probably go back to talking, about things like Friend Tech and the SEC. So
it'll be interesting to see what comes out during discovery. If there's any real news with verifiable evidence, that'll be very interesting to see. Yeah.
There's been a lot of evidence released during the bankruptcy court procedures.
Yeah.
Yeah, my hope is that there are ways for people who saw FTX as a business that, was meant to be, a trustworthy entity, as an alternative to the true meaning of what we believe DeFi to be, right? I hope they have find a way to make themselves whole. That's my only hope. The number of people, obviously with FTX.com, more of a global entity. And also US, just find ways to have these people with their hard-earned money able to find a way to even get any of their investments.
They probably will. I mean, they'll probably get. I don't know what the bankruptcy claims are trading at now, but it was like 70 cents on the dollar. I have no clue. That number could be totally wrong, but they'll get something.
Okay. Well, that's all the time we have for you all today. A lot of good talk today. A lot of interesting directions that the conversation has gone. Either way, be careful out there. Hold on to your plans. Don't derivate from the plan. Stay on the path as we get ready for this next bull market, guys.
Yeah, not your keys, not your coins, right? Don't give your crypto to any effective altruists, or they just might keep it.
But what you should do, if you haven't already, is click like on this stream, subscribe to get more of the notifications, and just show your support for us here at Beacon. Greatly appreciate that. Jangle, anything else you want to talk about before we ride into the sunset? So
that's it. Click the bell as well if you want to be notified when we're about to go live every Wednesday, noon Eastern. Yeah, appreciate everybody for coming.
Yeah, and follow us on Twitter if you don't already. We greatly appreciate, or X, whatever.
Wait, what's Twitter?
X.
I'm going to be calling it Twitter kind of for a while, because every time you say X, you also have to say previously known as Twitter. It's just too much work. I'm just going to say Twitter until everybody's saying X, and then I'll jump on at the last minute. See, that is effective.
All right, Jingle, formerly known as Jonathan.
It's been a good one, guys. 07.
See you next week.
We're out.